You are a Republican from Spillville.
Republican from Spillville in Winnebago County, yes.
Newly elected majority leader.
Yes,
awesome.
3 months on the job.
So let's start there with kind of being elected majority leader. Like, I guess let's start with what comes with that office, and kind of what your expectations are here over the next few months.
Sure. I started my leadership path 3 years ago. I was elected as assistant majority leader. Last year I was elected as the majority whip, which is a step up. And then this year when Jack decided to step down, the caucus asked if I was interested in running, which is a very humbling experience to have your caucus members feel that you have the ability to lead them. I take that job very seriously and look forward to working to benefit all Iowans.
And so let's start with, I guess, how you're going to do that. I guess 3 or 4 top priorities, if that's even enough. I don't know if you have one that you're really focusing on, but
sure. I mean, so last year we had a conversation on eminent domain.
Yep.
And we didn't finish that conversation. So it's incredibly important for me that we start out this year off and continue that conversation, and that conversation will end in a solution. So I've got a bill in drafting myself that's going to widen the corridor. Iowa's kind of unique in its approach to notice corridor and building infrastructure projects. In Iowa, if you establish a notice corridor, you can't deviate from it. So if you're under a property owner that doesn't want to grant you an easement, basically you're left with one option. Other states have policies in place where they either remove the corridor completely or they allow deviation from the corridor. So if you're under a property owner that doesn't wish to exercise the easement, you can go outside that corridor, find a willing landowner. That's the key. I think that solution will allow us to all but eliminate the need to utilize eminent domain to build infrastructure projects in the state.
Why is it important to create that balance, or I guess allow this project to move forward?
Look at all projects.
Yeah.
I mean, so any hazardous liquid pipeline under code section, which could be an ammonia pipeline, an oil pipeline. We're having conversations about whether we take this approach with transmission lines. There'll be 2.5 tranches of high voltage lines built across the state of Iowa over the next probably 5-6 years. And as Republicans, I was a mayor for 20 years. I built 4 infrastructure projects that were major, never utilized eminent domain once. At the end of the day, it's important to be able to protect individual property rights while allowing other folks to exercise their property rights. So if somebody doesn't wish to enter into an easement or an agreement, then if there's somebody that is willing to do that, then allow them to do that. Both parties at the end of the day exercise their property rights.
So I you mentioned kind of last year's debate over this and mentioned that the conversation isn't finished. How confident are you in your caucus kind of following that very public split there towards the end of session?
I'm very confident we'll find a solution this year. I'm very much so confident. I've been having conversations with folks. As soon as last session ended, we started having conversations. Yeah. 3 months I've taken over this role, I've continued those conversations. And we're trying to find common ground. We need to continue to talk to each other. Last year we kind of arrived at a point where we stopped communicating with each other. We both kind of staked out our claims, found it difficult to build a bridge and to navigate that path. I think the approach I'm looking at taking this year in my conversations with caucus members has been very well received.
Do you foresee there being ripple effects of that kind of divide as we move into the new session, whether on this topic or others?
I don't. No, I mean, Senate Republican caucus has always stood strong together. When we're unified, we're able to do great things, right? And so I think we all have disagreements, right? We've even had disagreements amongst ourselves on other bills besides this one. But at the end of the day, we talk through those disagreements. We find commonality. We find the best approach to move forward. I don't anticipate this having long-standing effects beyond that.
Awesome. So kind of shifting gears here, talking about property taxes. This is something that did come up last session. Obviously, those conversations very poignant behind the scenes. Is this an issue that you expect to arise, especially, of course, as the governor has started these conversations already in the public?
Well, Iowans are depending on us to do this, right? We hear this across the entire state. I mean, Iowans want to see substantial property tax reform, right? We have a 40-year-old system. We slapped Band-Aids on it, made subtle changes to it. But at the end of the day, if the system isn't working, we need to have the will to tear it down and build it back again. I think we'll see 3 different versions of bills, obviously. One from the Senate. We had 3 iterations last year that came out of our Ways and Means Committee. The House will have a version, and the governor's office will have a version. So my hope is we get those out in front of the stakeholders to allow them to weigh in early in the session. And then the governor and the House and the Senate will sit down and we'll see where the commonality and the overlap is in those approaches. Then we'll just have conversations and build a solution from there.
Is there any framework of a solution at this point, or anything that you would like to see when it comes to that reform, or is it really just about the conversation?
It's about the conversation, I think. I think for one camp to stake a flag out right now and say this is the only solution, kind of sells the process short.
So I guess on the context of the governor, do you foresee any challenges? Obviously lame duck on our way out at the end of next year after this session. Do you foresee any challenges with having a lame duck governor?
I don't. I think Governor Reynolds has, built a legacy in this state of doing great things. I get the feeling that her last year will be no different than any other year she's had in session. No.
Do you foresee bipartisanship playing a role in this session? Do you think that it's workable?
Well, bipartisanship is something we always achieve. Or actually, if you look at most of the bills we pass, most of those pass with bipartisan support. Really they do. So, where we find ourselves at ideological odds, from a Republican perspective or a Democrat perspective, is where we run into issues where we don't agree. But the vast majority of the bills that pass off the Senate floor have bipartisan support, and bipartisan conversations lead to that.
What do you want the voter to know as they continue to watch this session closely and as we move into the 26th election? What is the thing that the voter needs to be focused on?
Well, the voter needs to be focused on the fact that the Iowa Senate Republican Caucus has always stood to grow Iowa, to ensure that Iowa is the best place to live, work, and raise a family, and we will continue on that path this next session. That's our job. That's what they sent us here to do, and that's of the utmost importance for me to be able to lead my caucus, to continue to provide that good work for the state of Iowa.
Is there anything else you'd like to say or add? That's kind of all the questions I had coming in prepared.
Not really. No, I don't. Yeah. No.
Awesome. And then I guess just one other thing, and this could change, I guess, with the special election coming up here, but kind of that supermajority broken for now, and I guess that kind of plays into the bipartisanship thing. But what does that mean from your perspective, your side of things, your caucus's side?
Well, supermajority has allowed us to to ensure that governor's appointments are able to go through. And I think it's important. We'll work this next campaign cycle to rebuild that supermajority, obviously. And the Democrats will work to not, right? That's the political process. But at the end of the day, supermajority is important to me to rebuild that for our caucus, and we'll work this next election cycle to deliver that goal.
Why? Why is that so important?
Well, it's just important because the more Republicans I have in the caucus, the Senate Republican caucus has always been very conservative-minded in budgeting, very pro-growth policies, and it's important to have that majority or supermajority so we can achieve those goals for Iowans.
So you talk about the budget process, and let's bring that up. The REC met last week and kind of showed a little bit of growth from the October projections, but ultimately there's a lot of talk out there about the state being in a deficit or about running us into bankruptcy, things of that nature. What is your perspective on that?
Well, so when we started the plan to arrive at a 3.8% flat tax, we did modeling, right? And we have taxpayer relief fund full, we have all of our reserve funds full, and those dollars belong to Iowa taxpayers. So by lowering the income tax brackets and the corporate tax brackets, we're able to deliver those dollars back to Iowans and let them spend them how they see fit. So as we arrive at that 3.8% flat tax, we did our modeling. We knew that we were going to go into those reserve funds. And at the end of the day, what we're doing with those reserve funds by utilizing them to fund government is to give that money back to the Iowa taxpayers. And then at the end of that, we anticipate, and we will see, and we already saw it in the last REC estimate, they revised it up. We'll see that growth continue to trend upwards, and that will pretty much mirror our modeling, I think.
Is there a plan to keep those reserve funds strong as you continue to use that money? Well,
we're statutorily required to keep one reserve fund. The rest of them will be used to help us land at a 3.8% flat tax and promote growth.
Again, also on the topic of the budget, and I won't keep you too much longer here, but a lot of concerns over school funding in this last session, and I would imagine it's something that the Democrats are going to continue to be loud about. What do you say to concerns that the state is underfunding public education?
I would say, as a Republican caucus, we have grown education funding significantly over the time we've been in control of both chambers, right? And we'll continue to grow education funding. What the SSA number looks like at this point in time, I have no idea, right? We have to sit down and look at the budget. The March REC numbers will ultimately reflect in what we're able to spend. And at the end of the day, those conversations will start here when we get back in session.